Hi, I am A.F. Winter, and this is Confusional Arousals. Before we begin the episode in earnest, I would like to remind my listeners that I do other things besides podcasting. I am a poet, playwright, novelist, and also a lyricist. My songs can be found anywhere you stream your music. Just type in AF, no periods, no spaces between the A and the F, Winter. My novels and more information about the songs can be found on either of my websites, www.confusionalarousals.com or www.afwinter.com. Thank you for coming along with me on my journey, and now, back to your regularly scheduled program. I am in my third month of missing my dad. Oh God, you're thinking, how long is this going to continue? I don't know. You tell me. As you know, I am a theater teacher at a middle school in South Carolina. I am on winter break, and this will be the fourth episode I have written in the last 10 days. Ugh. I have become quite passive in my battle with Grammarly. Originally, I wrote, as you know, I am a teacher of theater at a middle school in South Carolina, and I am on my winter break, and this will be the fourth episode I am writing in less than 10 days. Grammarly, my grammar program, didn't like the teacher of theater bit. It wanted me to use theater teacher. It also wanted me to take out my winter break for the simpler winter break, as if you were on winter break as well. Grammarly wanted me to be more inclusive. The third correction was changing I am writing to I have written. Although I have not actually written it yet, I'm in the process of writing the aforementioned episode. Although, when I'm recording this, it has already been written. The only reason I am mentioning this to you is to prove that I have become less irritable and, to some degree, more passive. Usually, I would have argued with that stupid software program for days or hours. All right, maybe a few minutes. Finally coming to the resolution that I am smarter than the program I am paying $20 a month for. I'm thinking about this. Grammarly has proven a formidable opponent, getting money from me for doing absolutely nothing. What is it, a theater teacher in middle school? Back to my winter break. The week before my hiatus was a rough one. I had 4 shows, and there was lots of drama from students, parents, and my peers while I was trying to get my grades in. Why do people use drama as a bad word? Ugh. As I was leaving work before winter break, a colleague asked me if I was traveling during the break. I said no. He asked me if anyone was visiting me. I said no again. Then there was this awkward moment when I realized I had nothing in my life that I thought was important. He wished me a restful break as he exited quickly. When I left school, I didn't know if I would even return in 2026. Spoiler alert, I have. However, I don't know because I haven't actually returned as of yet. I am writing this with my hope to return planted firmly in my mind. Sometimes it is hard to get through a thought without thinking that I got it all wrong. I was feeling pretty crappy, emotionally, about my life, but I also felt like I was coming down with something. So as soon as I got home, I downed some night liquid cold syrup, 10% alcohol. I woke up an hour later and downed some 100% alcohol. Now, the only reason I didn't go on a bender was, 2 reasons. My dog has a lot of accidents, and I have to let her out every couple of hours. Let me remind you that this is the least of how gross she is. She's blind, can hardly walk. I have to lift her up so she could stumble around. She has festering wounds and scabs all over her body, and she smells, mostly from the dried blood from her festering scabs. Now, of course, I have to tell you that I love her dearly. Yes, I love her, but she is gross. The second reason for not going on a bender is that I am dog-sitting for a friend who is out of town. The point is, I did not go on a bender as I had in my youth, which were often so out of control that I began naming them as a way of remembering all the things that I shouldn't do for all future benders. Arthur Bender, Betty Bender, Carl Bender, Dot Bender, and so on. I believe I got up to Arthur Albert Amos Bender before I gave up with the names. But this naming business led to my first children's book, Bender Blunders. Here is an excerpt. Let me introduce you to my friends, whom I have met when on the bends. Arthur Bender thrown out of a bar, Betty Bender threw up in a car, Carl Bender got stuck in a tree, Dot Bender, her pants smell like pee. You get the idea. I cannot figure out why I didn't sell any copies. So, no more benders for me. Luckily, I only had morning dog-sitting responsibilities. After that, I just had to take care of my hound, which my lackadaisical caregiving would go unnoticed. My dog has 2 or 3 accidents a day, even when I am the top of my game. But I did have a drink or 2 or 3 times a day, and was a bit more sloshy than usual. I have had friends who have drowned their sorrow in drugs and alcohol to the degree that their lives were ruined. I am not that kind of person. But I wanted to forget, or maybe not forget, but just not think about things. My non-sobriety stops me from wallowing in my own perception of how crappy my life is. By Monday, I was feeling better. I did notice something odd. For the last 2 months, I was praying for my dad in the morning and in the evening. On Monday, I realized that over the weekend, I only prayed for him at night before going to bed. It wasn't that I was intoxicated and I forgot. In the evening, before retiring, was when I was most intoxicated. Now, I did not feel guilty about this lapse. I felt that my dad did not need me as much, so it was okay to reduce my daily spiritual endeavors. I still needed the evening prayer for myself. Tuesday, I found out that a close friend lost her dad. The last 3 months were bad for losing parents in my circle. The week before my dad died, another good friend lost her mom, and now this. So 3 in 3 months. I know that this is not a lot of people when you consider the population of the world or how many people die each day on this planet. About 170,000. Most of the time, we are oblivious to the pain and suffering of others if the deceased are unknown to us. But everyone is somebody's mother, father, sister, brother, or child. If a clod falls into the sea, Europe is the less. Maybe this non-acknowledgement of the tragedies around us is just some strange type of survival technique to keep us sane as death approaches. Regardless of what our reactions to death are, I did something very uncharacteristic for me. I didn't fly to the dark place where I spent a good part of the last 3 months. I took out a pen and some paper and started to write all the things I am grateful for. I began writing. There was no thought to it. It was reminiscent of the automatic writing techniques I do with my students when teaching surrealism. I just started writing without stopping. 10 minutes later, 3 pages were full. Not just with big things, but with everything. I think the list even included vital wheat, gluten, and nutritional yeast. Everything that we do or that happens to us is a blessing, both good and bad. I look around my house. There are memories everywhere. I remember when I bought that picture. I remember the friend who gave me that plant. The breath I am taking at this moment is a blessing. My fingers moving exceptionally slowly over the keyboard, typing this nonsense. Everything is a gift. Everything is a miracle. Buddha says all life is suffering, but maybe that is because we are fixated on what we don't have. Why can't we celebrate all that we do have? That is the question. The idea that I can feel compassion for another or feel sorrow should give me joy. My sadness over my dad's death is crazy and complicated, but my memories of what my parents taught me and showed me over their lives are far beyond imagination. I decided to write a song from my notes. 30 versions and 14 hours later, I had a song that I liked. It was included at the end of episode 41 on gratitude. At 2 o'clock in the morning, when the song was finished, I spent half an hour dancing and singing the song. I felt joyful, exhausted. I fell asleep. The next morning, I had a different reaction. I cried when I listened to the song, mostly because of the first 4 lines of the 3rd verse. Here are other things that I am thankful for. My 3 girls, my brother, my sister, my mom, the memory of my dad. I played it another 3 times, trying to figure out why I had this reaction. Each time I wept a little stronger. I guess that putting that line about my dad down made it real on some level. It is written down. It's in a song, so it must be real. I didn't stop playing it for another 2 hours. Soon my sorrow began with the first notes, like Pavlov's dog's reaction to the bell ringing. I did not back away from my feelings, but kept pushing until I could push no longer. I ended up on my knees, sobbing, letting everything out. When there was nothing left in me, I stumbled to bed and spent most of the day there. The next day I cut my hair and trimmed my beard. I had not touched either since October. I was starting to look like a bearded Albert Einstein on a bad hair day. But it was time to shed the baggage I had been carrying around for the last 3 months. My hair is still longer than I have kept it in the past, and the beard would help me fit in if I ever wanted to go to the axe-throwing bar in town. The Tuesday before New Year's, my sister called. She asked if I was going out partying on New Year's Eve. I told her no. She asked me if I was going to stay up late and see the ball drop. I said, probably not. She told me that she was going to a party on New Year's Day. She asked me if I was going to any parties. Again, I told her no. This time I didn't feel the same isolation I felt when I left school. I felt happiness instead of sorrow, because over the break I allowed myself to heal, or at least begin that process. I'm not cured of my depression and my pain. I will feel my dad's loss until I join him wherever he is. But we all have sorrow and pain in our lives. I hope I will be able to see the good in each day and not dwell on the negative. Gratitude, empathy, and compassion for others show us that we are not alone, even when we think that there is no one there and no one cares. They are, and they do. I am A.F. Winter, and this has been Confusional Arousals.
Time does not heal wounds unless we allow ourselves to heal a loss and sorrow. We'll be here tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. My heart is heavy, my steps are heavy. Can't bring myself to see the sun. My hands are shaking, my head is shaking. I cannot move or else I'd run. Moving on is not forgetting, letting go without regretting. There's nothing left for me in yesterday. I hear the voices I've left behind.